area, where is God? You're always going to find, I don't care how much you love God, you're always going to ask God, where is you in this area? Because if you God of everything, I'm suffering, and God has to teach us something. It's a process that we got to go through.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got this building, we got all this, we look like we got money, but when I look at the church bank account, I ask, where is God? When I look at my relationship and somebody did me wrong and they all hold hand where my hand at, where is God? But I know God is in the process.
Yes, sir.
And I'm in the process. And sometimes you got to get that. God got to call that thing out of you. Because it's something that's in. Reason why, let me say this. If it's taking you a long time to get delivered or get something you've been praying for a long time, there's usually something in you, there's a mechanism that God can't bypass to bless you. And you holding on to something that God can't, and you won't let God call it out.
Have mercy.
And some of us know what's wrong with us, but we won't give it to God. If we got anger issues, we'll hold on to our anger and let the woman go or let the man go. We'll hold on to our selfish spirit and let that person go. And if God, you want to get blessed by God, I learned one thing. I had to learn and let a lot of things go in order for me to get blessed. Amen. And sometimes God had to get on me, and God been getting on me saying, it's time for you to open your heart, because I don't want you to get so engrossed with me that you ain't human. Because it ain't good for a man to be alone. Not to say I'm a problem with my flesh. It's just unhealthy. Amen. To be, and I'm too content. And when every time God gets you, let me say one thing about God. The time you get too content, He's going to upset your apple cart. Because God never wants you to be settled. He always going to create something in you that cry out to Him. And the first thing that thing in that man said, Jesus, why you come here to torment us? Now, how is that? Now, think about it. They were tormenting that man. Ain't that hypocritical? Now, the devils were tormenting the man, and they begged Jesus not to torment them. We know who you are. Your issue know who God is. That's why folks don't want to come to church, because they get convicted, because when they come into Christ, Christ will call that thing out. He'll, in a sermon, in the atmosphere, He'll call that thing. We know who you are.
Yes, sir. Ain't that so?
So don't come here tormenting us. And see, what happens is, every time you get in the atmosphere of God, I know when folks, you know what? I know when I'm preaching good, people get uncomfortable. People get fidgety. I know people telling themselves. Because see, up here, I can see everything. I look straight, but I see people, God, you doing something here. Ain't nobody looking at you. Or when you talk about folk are like, hey, man, pastor. When it's them, the concrete is painted brown. You can tell where you at. And it's not me, it's God. Amen. I just preach, when I call my door, call it the sermon. I'm preaching a sermon. Sermon. But when I wrote it, I didn't wrote it with you in mind. Amen. I didn't say, oh, Elder Cook, this sermon is for you. Minister Camille, yeah, I know I got this line for you. And that Sheldon Brown. Line 3 is definitely for you with asterisks on it, with stars on it. Highlighted. So when I write, I didn't write with nobody in mind. I just wrote. But there's certain things inside of you, God got to call it out. I don't want to know, because some things God is calling them out. He said, God said, now you, he calling things out of me. And I'm only saying this not to be transparent, because this was written for me, because when I wrote it, God told me, now you got a message, you need to be called out. Well, God said, I ain't doing nothing wrong. I'm living right. He said, you living right, but you're not living to abundance life. Yeah, you know your money funny, but you funny too. You don't have a balance. Because I could be here all day, all night long working. I'm just as happy. Whistle while I work. But because there's nobody to tell me, get your butt home, there's no balance. And the only thing that keeps me balanced is my kid, because I got to pick him up for school. But when the days when I don't got him, I'm here from, y'all don't know, 8 to 8, 8 to 9. And people say, you working that hard? No, I'm just in the atmosphere. I'm just here. Ain't nothing to stay home. Ain't nobody calling me. Ain't nobody bothering me. But why nobody home bothering you? Because something in you need to be called out. And there's some lot of little things that we got in us that's stopping us from growing.
Say so.
And everything ain't got to be sin. It's just issue. It ain't you did wrong. It ain't bad, but you ain't got a balance. And that legion in you, that thing in you, is stopping you. Jesus said, I came that you have life and have more abundant life. And even though we got some sad, miserable Christian, and God never perfect will would intend for us to be miserable. He meant us to have a full life while we on the earth. We should be able to have heaven on earth. And we stress out over folk that don't care about us. We got folk right now, when I really realized, like, the devil kept tormenting me. And the devil will torment you more with your thoughts. See, the devil will always drive him into a wilderness. One thing the devil did, he'll drive you to an isolated place. That's why it's not good when people are depressed to get locked up in their homes, don't get away from people, because now you're setting yourself up for suicide, because the devil can actually talk to you by yourself. The worst thing you can do when you go through death or divorce or tragedy is to be alone. Amen. Get with somebody who has a reasonable that can talk you out the bridge, baby. Come on, step off the ledge, my friend. Come off the end. Don't jump. You need somebody with reason that's outside of you that can look in and get a clear perspective and tell you it's not that bad. It ain't all hopes. People don't understand. Well, won't they get over it? But you know what? If that was their first love, it's not hard for them to get over it. If that was their first job, if that was their first child, and so you got 10 kids. If you lost one, you ain't crying over one. People say, Pastor, that's wrong. You see them on the news. The young man just died. They act like they crying over the boy. I said, and you can feel in your spirit. I got spirit of discernment. I can feel some things. I know I got a little gift. I ain't no psychic, but I can feel you. Amen. And that's why it's hard for me to even deal with people, because I got to turn that thing off sometimes. Because when I meet somebody, I spook them out. I got so many women run away from me because they can't do the Jedi. Because I got the gift, and I be telling them about their character traits, and one of them I was talking to, they jumped up. She said, you good, and jumped up and walked away. I'm like, oh my God, spooked the lady. So I got to act dumb sometimes. I said, Lord, I can't do, but it's inside of you. And some of the stuff we got, and how does this stuff get inside of you? It's your culture. Called horticulture. Put a plant next to certain other plants. they're going to start changing like the other plants.
Oh, yes. Yes, it will.
You put a plant in a certain environment, it will morph into that environment. And some of us, that's why Egypt had a hard time in 400 years being, when Israel was in Egypt for 400 years, even though they let them out, Egypt was still in them.
Yes.
They still had that spirit in them. And soon Moses wasn't gone 40 days. And they were butt naked, dancing around a calf like the Egyptians did. And they viewed God like the calf.
For upcoming events, announcements, information, and donation, visit us at www.gpwm.org. Find us on Facebook.
GPW.org.
Faith, fellowship, funding, transforming the community, a community outreach. If you're ever in the Baltimore and Arundel County area, please visit us at the Storehouse, 7409A, Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Also, you can reach us on the web at www.gpwm.org. Thanks again for watching.